Good afternoon or evening, depending on where you are in North America. This is Tammy Bonnell, CEO for Exit Realty Corp International. Thank you for being with us for mergers and acquisitions in real estate brokerage. Before we begin, I want to mention a few things. One, towards the end, you'll get my contact information so that if you have any questions, you can feel free to reach out, and we'll be giving you some more information. But grab right now, if you can, a pen and paper, because you remember what you write down. And there are going to be different things that are important to different people depending on what market you're in, the size of your brokerage, whether you want to be acquired or you want to acquire someone else. So grab a pen and paper so that you can take some notes. You know, most brokers all across North America, they don't have an exit strategy. Their thought pattern of thinking ahead and thinking long-term has not been as strong as in other businesses. More people are reactive than proactive. You know, think about it just like in real estate or even agents recruiting, you recruiting people into your office. People change because their circumstances change. They change where they live because they're getting married, they're getting divorced, they're becoming an empty nester, they're making more money, they're making less. So many of those same things are why an agent moves, and so many of those same things are why somebody would want to acquire other companies or be acquired. But if you are proactive and you have an understanding of what's going on in your market, you'll be prepared for any opportunity. And that's the key, being prepared. And the first time you do the homework, it'll be longer, it'll be more arduous than any other time, but it seriously won't take more than a couple hours. And then as you steadily do it to stay on top of it, it probably won't take more than an hour. And it's just doing that homework to really be able to see consistencies and inconsistencies, being able to do that homework so that you know more about your marketplace so that you can really see where the opportunities are. You know, in preparing for an acquisition and whether you're going to buy or sell, the more you plan in advance, the better off you're going to be. So here's a list of the things that I've run into, and I have had the opportunity to assist in acquiring hundreds of companies. I've been personally the one responsible for well over 100 companies, and I can tell you that these specific things are the things that you're going to run into the most that you want to be prepared for. And I'm going to add one to this list for your own mindset. So number one, pros and cons. What are the pros to being acquired or acquiring other companies, and what are the cons? You may not have the same freedom, you may not have the same flexibility, or you may have more freedom depending on what's going on, but you literally need to look at the pros and cons yourself. Is this going to be more work for me? Am I going to be working more hours? Am I going to have to bridge the gap between people? Really looking at what the pros and cons are, because once you jump into it, you want to make sure that you're prepared in advance. Deal breakers, and I can tell you the two that I've run into the most, and it doesn't matter what phase we're at. You know, real estate goes through cycles. Sometimes we're in extreme highs and lows, and sometimes it's just waves. But these are the things that I've run into in every cycle. Number one, culture. If you do not have the same culture as the people that you're looking at acquiring or being acquired by, it's an absolute deal breaker. The people will not get along, and you'll probably lose people on both sides. And that's something that you cannot change if they've already started a certain type of culture and you don't have that same mindset and culture. The second thing is you're going to have less control than you think you do. No matter how prepared you are, you're going to have a little bit less control than you think you do. So the more prepared I am, the better I have control of all the outgoing circumstances. And for all of us, knowing what you really want. You know, we can get caught up in winning. 1 in 3 people that we look at, we're going to want to acquire, but we may have more than that want to get involved with us. And a lot of times when you're competitive and you see yourself getting that close to the end game and you can win, you just think about closing the deal and winning. And probably some of you on the line, maybe many of you on the line, have had that experience where you've recruited an agent, but your gut told you that it wasn't the right thing to do, and you should always trust your gut. Keep your eye on your goals. That's why you want to know what your why is. Why are you really doing this? What are you doing? Are you building something to make something really saleable in the next 10 years? Are you doing something so that you can gain more market share? Are you, what is it specifically that you're doing? And here's the bonus. Take a look at your office. Take a hard look at your office. Be critical. What are the things that would attract you to coming there? Because it is all about attraction. And what are the things that would pull you away? Is there anybody in there that's negative? Is there anybody in there that's not producing, that's been there a long time, that everyone will look at that as the example? You want to really pay attention to that so that you're, and I'm telling you, be more critical of yourself than you would be of anyone else, because the attraction after the fact, when they start doing their homework and looking you up, when you've had a conversation with them, it could be the thing that's going to make them walk away before you even get the opportunity to get started. Share it with your dirty dozen. For anyone that's not aware of the term, I think I might have even coined it myself. You want to find trusted professionals who work on the business, not in it. I recommend that you have a dozen, perhaps 6 people that work on a local level, they're a street level, they're tied to your local board, and another 6 that are tied to your province or state, depending on where you are in North America. Find people that you really trust, that do a terrific job, that you've worked with over a period of time, and you know these people can be trusted advisors, that these people are people that you can trust with your clients, you can trust with your agents, and that you know are out there in the marketplace and they know what's going on. Share your dream with them, but ask them to share theirs. And really, I would ask them to share theirs first. The more you help others, the more you're going to be helped. I find mortgage companies and coaches, mortgage originators and mortgage brokers and coaches, they seem to be more in the know than anyone else because people seem to share their personal information and what they're thinking of doing. A team that's thinking of going out and starting their own business, a brokerage that the partnership is falling apart. They seem to be ahead of the curve with what's going on. They'll hear a couple agents grumble in the same office so that they can have you be ahead of the curve before everything implodes. But think of all of the people that work on the business, not in it, home inspectors, attorneys. You can start adding to the list. Who are those people for you that are affiliates in your marketplace that you can build a connection with? I recommend you connect with them every 4 to 6 weeks and find out what's going on. What are the changes? What are the things going on that I should be aware of? And they'll help keep you apprised. But make sure you do the homework on them to make sure they have an excellent reputation, number one, because they're probably going to introduce you to people. And number two, do your homework on them to find out what their dreams are. What do they really want to achieve? Because the more that you help them get there, I do something nice for you, you can't help but want to do something nice for me. If you go to the next, obviously, put a list together of the potentials. You want to do your homework in your marketplace. If you're going to stay in this MLS, or you're going to be closer to the next, you're going to go closer to the next board because you're going to tie to the next board of realtors, or you're going to be staying in this own personal sphere, wherever you're thinking this is the next logical level of growth and I want to grow in this direction, do your homework. Do your homework on the person and do your homework on the leaders in that company, so that you know that they have a good reputation, they have a bad reputation, they've been in the business for a long period of time, they still list and sell. Do as much homework as you possibly can to find out what's going on. Market share, not just listing inventory. You want to know what they have for listing inventory and what they have for niches in their market, but you want to know, are they growing or shrinking? Do they have market share? Has their market share grown or shrunk? Listings, agents, are they losing agents? Are they gaining more producing agents? It'll tell you an awful lot about how strong they are as a leader and if they're really focused in that right direction. Google them and their company and put them on Google Alerts so that you are aware of any changes that go on. On Facebook, put them on a list so you can see what's going on in their world. This is a relationship business, and it is so important for you to be tied to the relationship. I know dollars matter. I know that being aware of all of the things that they're doing financially matter. But if I can't build a relationship with this person, even the consumer that's buying real estate is looking for a trusted advisor, you will not be able to build that level of trust. So if I put them on a list, I can see what's going on in their world. Somebody's getting married, somebody's having a baby, um, things that they're participating in the community, so that I know that they're a good corporate citizen. Check into all of that. LinkedIn, you'll get to see them from a better professional profile, and if you upgrade your LinkedIn, you can actually see more, and hunt for more, so that you don't let anybody that's a licensed broker fall through the cracks. Um, your dirty dozen, they know street level any changes, so ask them to keep you apprised. Even any recommendations based on, you know how our culture is, you know how we work, who would you recommend I have a conversation with? That might be somebody that's not even on your radar because they've started recently, or they've been around for a long time and it's just somebody you didn't think of, and yet it may be an amazing opportunity for you. And the bonus for this, your trusted agents. Make sure that you pay attention to your trusted agents that are in your office. And I mean those Pied Pipers that you can honestly trust and share with, hey, we're looking at the possibility of acquiring other companies. I wouldn't necessarily share the same thing if you're selling unless you really trust them implicitly. But who do you know? Who have you done transactions with that's from an office that feels like our culture, that feels like us? Because that will be key to making it work. The transition process. Now, I'm going to walk through the transition process, but this is literally from soup to nuts. This is from when you identify the quality people that you want to work with and you establish a contact all the way to actually doing that acquisition or being acquired. Obviously, you're not returning to step one if you're going to be acquired, because you're going to find the right person for you, unless you want to do a little more search before you get that happening. So to me, you identify the quality associates and you establish a contact. I can tell you that, first of all, remember it's just a conversation, that the best line I've ever used, and it's worked in every phase of the market, is obviously the industry is changing rapidly. Now think about that. From how long ago, 10 years ago, what it was changing like and what it's changing like today seems like the speed of light. But it's always been rapid for that current time in the marketplace. The market is changing rapidly, and I love to speak with people with like minds. I realize we haven't sat down and had a chat, just you and I. I'd love to buy you a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, or I'd love to just sit down with you, depending on what you know that they have for personal likes and habits. I find that they're so curious, they're willing to sit down just on the market is changing and I'd love to share with you. And you don't have to give the store away. You don't have to tell them anything, but the less you say when you make the appointment, the better off. Definitely remember it's just a conversation, and build a relationship with that candidate based on needs. Hopefully you've had a conversation with your dirty dozen. You've looked up the information on Facebook and LinkedIn so that you found out what they have for family, what they did before they got into real estate, what they do for fun, and what really motivates them. And if not, this is the perfect time to have those conversations. Ask really effective questions. Where do you see the market today? Where do you see yourself in the next 1, 3, 5 years? Gather that information so that you can keep going with making sure your business philosophy and your culture matches. So much of this, your gut has to match. In fact, I always decide if my head and my gut and my heart don't match, I'm not going any further. You're going to determine a potential fit. Number one thing that you want to make sure of is that your culture and their culture matches. You will probably want about 1 in 3, but you might be able to get 2 out of 3 because they haven't thought about this yet, and now they're starting to think about it. Think about this statistic. 79% of brokers in the United States have 4 agents or less. 30% of brokers, second statistic, 30% of brokers are 60 and older. So they're looking for some sort of strategy, but we have to make sure that we build a strong connection with them so that we can make things work. Create a compensation program based on what they have for wants and needs. And to go into the wants and needs, I want you to think about the top 7 things that agents are looking for. This is agents doing 50 transactions a year or better. Think about what it is that they have for concerns, because you want to make sure that that's highlighted in your conversation with the people that you're looking at acquiring, or if you are looking at those things and those are concerns for you, that it's also a concern for the person that you want to be acquired by. Top 7 things, people doing 50 transactions a year or better. Number 1, they want leadership. That's really important. So determining, is this person a good leader? Can I be a good leader? Who do you look towards for leadership? Number 2, they want education. How are you managing education right now? Who educates your people? Do you have a system in place? Number 3, they want help with technology. And whether that's somebody that you facilitate coming in or you have somebody that's really helping everybody with technology, asking those effective questions and telling them these are the things that are really important. Number 4, they want help with the details. Number 5, they want a marketing program they can track. Number 6, they want image. They want that polished professional image. And number 7, they want skin in the game. They want some sort of a vested interest. But they can be vested in any way, shape, or form. It can be based on residuals or profit sharing, or it can even be that they feel like they have a vested interest because they want to come in and teach the agents, right? So your question to them is, out of the top 7, what are your biggest concerns? Where do you feel like your biggest strengths are? And then you can base a compensation program based on that. Find out who's a Pied Piper in their office, who gets everybody to move, who gets everybody to agree, so that if you pull this all together and you've created something that's going to work based on where their concerns are, where their wants are, that you have somebody in the office that's going to come to agreement with, this is a great idea, we should all do it, and you have that person ahead of time before you do any type of a transition party. Make sure that it's a mutual commitment. Even if that person is going to go away and retire, you want them to be a goodwill ambassador, whether they're a goodwill ambassador internally or externally. And you have to make sure that you're both agreeing to do certain things. It's got to be mutual. Agent integration and retention. I recommend that for that first 90 days, you're on an extreme touch. You're staying up close and personal, and you're really connecting, but that you're really staying hyper aware over that first year. I actually had a brokerage that came to a course I taught on mergers and acquisitions because they were a really large brokerage. Actually, they had 37 offices, and they went in and started to do acquisitions, and their second acquisition, they acquired a building and no people because they didn't pay attention to the people part of the equation. It was a pretty painful thing, and probably you only need to do that once before you really learn. Return to step 1. It's always easier to acquire somebody when you've already acquired. This slide for me is probably without question in the top 3, and it's those make or break conversations that you're not aware of behind the scenes. So spouse or significant other, invite them so that they can see the difference. Does your spouse pay attention to what you do business-wise? Are they aware of what it is that you're thinking of doing? I'd be happy to walk them through how we work. I'd be happy to have an opportunity to meet with them for dinner so that they can be on the same page. I've had people that have made a commitment that they're not going to leave their company, or they're not going to sell their company for a period of time, or that they're never going to retire, or whatever those statements are, and so that there's a mixed message that's coming back. And I think it's really important to come back and have that conversation. Silent partners and investors, obviously partners sometimes is a minority partner and this person feels like they're in control, so they have the decision, but if that person has more influence with the people, you're in trouble. So make sure you find out, do they have a silent partner? And I always ask, is there anyone else that we should be including in this conversation, or that we should be including as we think of the possibilities? I'll even crack a joke, doctor, lawyer, Indian chief, significant other, so that they know. It might be their lawyer that they want to have be involved. It might be somebody that invested in their company and they want to get a return on investment, and they'll want to put the brakes on. Or maybe it's somebody that has more influence than they're aware of. So, I've definitely found out after people have told the agents what's going to happen. So it's a really smart thing to do. Employees. I find that most brokers really love their people and they really want to see them taken care of, but there may be a duplication here of employees. So there may be a temporary opportunity for you to keep that person for 90 days to help weld people in, and maybe even find a different niche for that person, do a personality profile, to find a solution, but you do not want to promise that you can handle something that you know in your overhead you're not going to be able to handle. Family members. A lot of times there are agents in the office that happen to be children, nephews, nieces, in-laws. It's a good point to make sure that you find out, are they aware that you're looking at this? Do you have any concerns as you're coming down the pike? Because you could run into something that you're not aware of. Always acknowledge that person's hard work, even if they're losing market share right now and they're not growing, or they're fearful of technology, and show humility on your side. Even if you're building and you're acquiring a company, it's important to do that, but don't be false. Never show anything that's artificial. People can sense it from miles away. Your reminder checklist. The most important thing on this is over-communicate on everything. It's not just me hearing, it's me understanding what you have to say. It's me absorbing that information. That's what makes me understand this communication. And so sometimes you have to repeat the process. People absorb only so much of what it is they hear when we're having a conversation, so some of that conversation needs to happen with more people, sometimes with even more personality profiles, because an I personality that is more of a people person may hear something totally different than a D personality that's task-oriented. Rely on your transition team. Your transition team might be somebody as simple as you and your manager, or you and an assistant, or it could be you and the Pied Piper that's in the office. It's going to make sure that everybody stays engaged and involved depending on the size and the growth of your office right now. You need to be available for the agents on both sides, but pick times so that it's not 24/7. It just appears that you're available all the time. I'm available every morning before 9. When the office day starts, I'll be here from 7:30 on, and I will be here between 12 and 1 every single day to answer any questions or concerns. Never forget the people that are existing that are there, because everyone else in the marketplace is watching whether they're happy or not, what they're doing for production, if anything's changed. And trust me, they're going back and having conversations. They're also doing the same with the brand new agents. Are you happy? Do you like the change? Because there's already upset. They're already going to change their business cards. So you want to make sure that you've really planned it in advance. Ask for a little time. Look, give us at least 90 days. You're going to go through some changes, but we're going to take the best of both companies. We're going to implement great ideas, and don't ever rock the boat and change everything in one fell swoop, because you will definitely lose people. Create a suggestion box, or even a place for them to send ideas at, so that they feel like they're part of the solution. Give them an opportunity for brainstorming sessions so that they can really create momentum and excitement with this happening. The easiest way to attract is to have happy, productive agents. And if they're happy and they're productive and they've got momentum and they're so excited about where they are and they're starting to see that needle go up, like you do a temperature gauge of you rising in market share, and they're so proud because people want to be part of something that's on its way up and proud of something that's better, that's the best time for you to go out and take advantage of the momentum and create more. Top 10 reasons to acquire. Number 1 is to become more profitable. I can't enhance that enough. It has to make financial sense. That doesn't mean it has to make financial sense today, but you have to know what your cash flow is to know how long you can be out. If you know that this is going to help build on the foundation and you're going to have new divisions set up, and that this is going to work for you in the long term, and that you can see a break-even time frame 1 to 3 years out, and that it's going to only grow from there, and that the impact to your agents and being ahead of the curve for opportunities that you see coming down the pike because the market's shifting, that is a good idea. But to just go in because you can is not. And most of us are pretty competitive, and if we get close to that win, we start thinking in that direction. Obviously, adding a team of new agents that are doing great stuff, gaining market share. I've had so many opportunities where number 5 and number 3 in the market come together and say, let's do this so we can beat number 1. That 60 and over statement, most of those people want to be Johnny Carson. They want to leave while they're on top. They want to leave while they're on a high. So if they can help build something to the point of the top, and they might even stay longer because they've had the opportunity to do that. If you get an opportunity to form a partnership with an owner or a manager that's really talented, maybe they have a skill set you don't. Maybe there's a people skill set, or they do more transactions, or they're more creative, or they're great with marketing. But it will give you more flexibility. You've got to make sure that it's not somebody that's like you. We have a tendency towards attracting people that are like us, and what we need is diversity. We need the people that aren't like us that will help us attract more other people. Gaining a presence in a prime location, we actually have an office that was known as a real estate center for 30 years, 30 plus years. And so when it came over, the reputation was already there, the understanding was already there, and so it created incredible excitement for everybody. People love being part of something better, and so seeing that injects great new life. Making it cost efficient. Maybe you invested in some special technology that with multiple people utilizing it, it's going to be a benefit, or you paid a great staff person that's really helping, and now that they can help this many people, it's going to be magic. Adding a special niche to your company, and that goes back to understanding accurate market knowledge. You want to make sure that it's a niche that makes sense in your market. Where is the market right now? Where are the transactions coming from? Obviously, increasing visibility and creating great public relations. You can see for yourself on the niches, so I'm not going to stay on it, but I want you to think of a couple of things that are so important. Number one, doing the market research to see what's selling. Do you have a gap? Is there a gap anywhere? Is there a hole anywhere that you know that you need to fill? And there are micro niches, not just the niches, right? Maybe military is really big in your marketplace, and you don't have anybody with military designations that's representing that market. First-time home buyers, people that are moving up, seniors, people with those specific designations. Maybe it's something specific in your marketplace that's unique, or maybe it's even something that you're starting to see come down the pike, and it's going to help you to attract more millennials into your office. But thinking from that direction, those niches will make a difference. Top 10 reasons people transition. Number one, no-brainer, just like on the other side of acquiring, they're not making money. Maybe they were better as a salesperson. They thought it was the next logical level of growth to become a broker owner, but they were always better in sales, and their love is listing and selling, and they want to go back to that. Maybe the margin is shrunk enough because they can't negotiate with people. They don't feel like they're a strong enough leader, so they've given the store away, and they need to pay attention to that. Often it's somebody that wants to go back to selling. Over the last 5 years, we've seen the speed of technology be huge. I wish I could credit the person that said it, and I apologize for not remembering, but real estate is a cab when the consumer wants to see an Uber. And 10 years ago, we got 5 million leads in the real estate industry that came from technology. 2017, we got 86 million. How do you filter that out? Know what's good, what's not? How do you get everybody to follow up and follow through? For a lot of people, that's overwhelming. So if you have that speed of technology and you have something that they can embrace that's simplified, they'll get involved. Some want to retire immediately. A lot of them even aren't into the details, and so those managerial hassles turn into a problem. Partnership disputes, especially when something changes in someone's life, they become huge. They want access to better resources. Maybe you're bigger, or maybe you're looking at somebody that's bigger that has access to the technology that you don't have the access to, or has access to staff that can help everybody so that they can be out in front of people, which is where agents should be. Personal or legal problems, think about people's health. They may have problems with their own health, or their significant other, or a family member, even parents, that they really need to concentrate on. A lot of those things you end up seeing through Facebook, but a lot of issues that now they don't want to stay building, they want to back off a little bit. Legal problems, maybe even that they're going through a divorce. Loss of agents, lack of inventory, an awful lot of that has to do with leadership or what it is that they can offer. And flat out burnout. Some people get burnt out on constantly having to reinvent, and a lot of that is probably a note to self that maybe they're not in the position that they should be in at this time. I wrote a white paper on mergers and acquisitions that is in much more detail. Tomorrow you are going to get an email that will give you a link so that you can download the white paper. It has a lot more information and some examples that I believe will be really helpful for you. And it also gives you a link so that you can repeat this webinar if you'd like to, so that you can hear more information that will help you to do it. Repetition is the key to learning, so repeating the process is probably a good idea. And then you can keep notes, and if you've had to write a little bit fast, maybe there's some more notes that you want to take after you've slept on it, and hopefully this gives you that opportunity. I want to thank you very much for spending your valuable time with us today. And if you'll see on the last slide, if you text TAMI, punch in 85377 on your text, and just in the message put in TAMI, you will get my mobile business card that will give you all my contact information. If you have any questions, and certainly I do not want to pry, but if you have any questions, maybe it's a basic thing or something you just want a scenario you want to run by, please don't hesitate to reach out. Together, I know that most people really want to raise the bar on this industry. We do too. And if we can help each other, we're more than happy to. Thank you so much for spending your time today. Have a great week.